Welcome back to our second lesson on transformations. So if you haven't already, check out the first video I did. That was all on reflections. And today we are going to look at rotations. Now, rotation means to move a shape around a point. So if I wanted to move myself around this point here, okay, I'd move my body around here and the point doesn't change. Also, if you notice, my body doesn't change, the shape of my body doesn't change. I'm just simply moving around this point. Now, to be able to move around the point, we need to know three key things. The first thing we need to know is, where is the point? Okay, or what we like to call the center of rotation. Okay, for instance, in this scenario, my hand at this point was the center of rotation. I also need to know, if I'm going to rotate, am I going to go this way, which is clockwise, the way a clock ticks is clockwise, or am I going to go anti-clockwise, the other direction? The only two directions I can rotate, clockwise or anti-clockwise. And I also want to know, how many degrees am I going to be rotating? If I'm going to start here, am I going to rotate myself 90 degrees to get here, or 180 degrees to get here, or 270 degrees to get here? So to be able to rotate a shape, I need to know those three important things. And it's the same if we want to rotate a shape around the grid like this. Again, we've got our X and our Y axis, and we want to rotate some shapes. So let's imagine we wanted to rotate a shape around the origin, point 0, 0, where X and Y meet, where the two axes meet. So let's imagine now we've got this shape, and we wanted to rotate this shape around the origin. So the shape needs to stay the same, the point doesn't move, and our shape always stays the same distance away from the center of rotation. So how can we do this? Now, it's actually really easy to do if we have tracing paper. Because we're all at home now, I'm going to assume the majority of us don't have tracing paper at home. So the way I think is the easiest thing to do is if we actually join our center of rotation with our shape by drawing a line going across, then up. Now, by doing that, I've got myself a reference point. I know it always needs to be that one square away. So now I've got my reference point. I'm going to be told that I want to rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees clockwise. Now, because I've got my shape here, but my center of rotation over there, I'm going to use this line I drew. I know this line is flat, and I'm going to move that line around 90 degrees. These are all squares, so I know by moving this line from here to there, I've moved it 90 degrees because there's 90 degrees in the corner of every square. So if I move this line to there, this line's attached, which would move to there, which would also then move the corner of this shape round to there. So I'm just going to show you that motion once more. Look how when I move it 90 degrees, it's going clockwise, and watch how it all moves in that direction. Okay? And I managed to work that out by joining my center of rotation up to my shape. Now, if you do have tracing paper, what you could do is put your tracing paper over the top, sketch out your shape, put your pencil on the center of rotation, and move it around 90 degrees. And it's nice and easy there. It's super easy. However, like I said, I'm going to assume none of us have tracing paper because we're all at home right now. So that's one example. Let me show you another example. Let's this time move our square over here. And let's have our center of rotation at the point 1, 1. Now, what we're going to do this time is we're going to move our shape 270 degrees anti-clockwise. Okay? And again, I'm going to join my center of rotation up with my shape like so. And I'm going to use this line here that's level, okay? Or we could use the one that's straight. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And we're going to move it 90 degrees first of all. So let's see where the line would end up if we moved it 90 degrees. Then I'm going to move it another 90 degrees in the anti-clockwise direction. We've now moved it 180. I'm going to move it another 90 degrees. We're often asked to move it in multiples of 90 because it's obviously easy for us to read using the grid because they've got 90 degrees in. So can we see our shape stayed the same, and we've simply used those lines that we've connected to move it around in an anti-clockwise direction 270 degrees. So I'm just going to show you that movement once more. This is what we started with, and we moved it 90, 180, 270. So let's look at one more. Let's imagine we've got this shape. So we're still working with the same shape, but this time we're going to put the center of rotation on the shape at point 1, 1. Now, the only thing that changes here is that we don't actually have to join our center of rotation with our shape. It's already there. Let's just take one part of the shape. So I'm going to highlight this line here. And now we want to move it 180 degrees. Now, if we're going to move it 180 degrees, it doesn't really matter if we're told anti-clockwise or clockwise, because it'll still end up in the same place. But for this example, we're going to go clockwise. So I'm going to take this side of my shape, move it 90 degrees, and then move it another 90 degrees, which means I've now moved it 180 degrees. So that's one side of the shape. I'm now going to move the rest of my shape round as well, draw it where it should be. And look what happens as we move the rest of the shape. Can you see how by moving it 180 degrees, we haven't reflected it? We haven't reflected it in that line. Okay, it may look like we have, but we haven't. We've actually moved the whole shape. We've rotated it around a central point, our center of rotation. So remember, the three key things for rotation is we need to know where our center of rotation is. We need to know whether we're going clockwise or anti-clockwise. And we need to know the number of degrees we are moving. Once we know all that, we can successfully rotate our shape, as I've shown you 3 different ways on my grid here. Now, if you have any questions, please do obviously just contact me any which way you can. Okay, you should know them all by now. If not, they are linked below. And that's rotations, ladies and gents. Obviously, if you have tracing paper, do use it because it makes it a lot easier. But I'm just going to repeat myself once more. I didn't think many of us would, so I wanted to show how to do it without actually having tracing paper. And I hope this visual representation has helped out a lot. And until our next video where we look at translations, stay safe.